Heavenly miracles in just 7 minutes. Your divine healing awaits, revealed and confirmed. In the quaint English village of Everwood, whispers of heavenly miracles flowed like the gentle streams winding through its emerald fields. Sarah, a devoted mother of 2, could often be found in the warm embrace of St. Mary's Church, where hymns drifted into the skies and prayers were answered like the sun rising after a dark night. As a cherished choir member, she sang with a voice that seemed to glide like a dove, painting the air with hope. Every service, every gathering, reminded the villagers of faith's power to heal, uplift, and transform lives in divine ways. Yet, everything changed when little Oliver, her youngest, was struck by an illness so rare that even the brightest medical minds appeared bewildered. With every tick of the clock, Sarah's heart felt heavier, burdened by the shadow of despair creeping into their once bright days. Desperate days turned into even more desperate nights. The scent of incense lingered in the air as Sarah took to her knees at St. Mary's, the flickering candles casting a warm glow over her tear-streaked face. "Lord," she whispered, trembling with faith and fear, "if you're listening, please, heal my son." The moment was charged with an electrifying energy. Just then, a gust of wind swept through the open doors, lifting her spirits as a soft but undeniable presence enveloped her. Amidst her tears, the flickering lumens of the saints began to dance, as if nodding in understanding. That very instant, faith battled doubt deep within her soul. Could prayer really unveil miracles, or were these moments merely fantasies woven to cushion the heart in aisles of grief? In those dark hours, her spirit drifted back to tales of St. Jude, the intercessor known for the impossible. Her heart raced with newfound determination. After a spirited sermon at the church, "Faith without works is dead," the village pastor had proclaimed, a fire ignited in Sarah. She understood the urgency to unite her community, to weave their prayers together as a tapestry of hope. A spark of inspiration lit within her. She approached friends, family, and church members with fervent encouragement, inviting them to gather and pray for Oliver's healing. It felt like the heavens themselves poured blessings on St. Mary's that evening as they congregated in fervent supplication, their voices harmonizing like a choir of angels singing directly from God's heart. But after a round of conventional treatments yielded no positive results, sorrows piled heavy as stones, and faith faltered. But just as despair loomed, an elderly villager recounted tales of miraculous healings that struck a deep chord within Sarah's heart. Her prayers became intensified, believing not just for Oliver, but for the entire community's rejuvenation in faith. No longer was this a solitary quest, it was a divine mission that demanded fervor. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days melted into nights, yet Sarah's spirit remained undeterred. As the village's collective faith began radiating brighter, a flicker of divine presence filled the air, tinged with hope. One last prayer in the chapel forged an unexpected moment, a sensation that surged through her, an indescribable warmth touching her heart and filling her with an incomprehensible peace. It was as if heaven itself brushed against her soul. Where would this journey lead? Would their faith unite to witness a miracle that could change everything? Or would doubt overshadow their unyielding hopes? The heart of Sarah and the soul of the village stretched toward the unknown, yearning for divine manifestation just beyond reach. The days that followed were a mixture of heavy hearts and whispered prayers. Each morning, as sunlight spilled through the quaint village of Everwood, Sarah found strength in the routine of her devotion. She cherished the sight of her children at the breakfast table, laughter mingling with the aroma of warm bread. Yet, a somber thread wove through these moments, a reminder of the battle being fought silently under their roof. At St. Mary's, the growing congregation became a beacon of unity. Residents of Everwood streamed into the modest church, their hearts linked in purpose. Each prayer was like a pebble dropped into still waters, creating ripples that spread far and wide. They prayed not only for Oliver but for every weary soul whose faith had been tested. In those gatherings, Sarah often caught the eyes of other mothers, their shared glances fueling her conviction. "We are stronger together," she would whisper to herself, the words becoming a mantra woven into her spirit. One evening, as she lit the altar candles, a thought brushed against her heart. What if they gathered again, this time with a focus on intentional faith? With urgency coursing through her veins, she called a special meeting. She envisioned a night of worship, a time when their voices would rise together like a mighty tide, warding off every shadow of doubt, and so it was. A week later, the air in St. Mary's felt electric, alive with expectancy. The flickering candlelight seemed to shimmer with divine promise. Villagers filled the pews, each face illuminated by a shared resolve. Sarah stood at the altar, her voice quaking with emotion, yet bold with purpose. Tonight, she began, her heart racing, we will plead together for God's mercy. We will not just ask for healing, we will declare it. Our God is a God of wonders, and we are His instruments. A wave of agreement swept through the congregation. Hands grasped tightly, united in a circle of faith around her, they lifted their voices in full-throated praise. Their harmony soared, transcending walls, reaching the heavens. Lord, let your will be done. They sang. The words dripped with sincerity, and Sarah felt her heart swell. In the stillness that followed, they began to share testimonies. One by one, villagers rose to speak of past healings, moments when God seemed to scatter their desperate prayers like stars in a night sky. The recounting of miracles ignited hope, each story another log on the fire of faith. Sarah listened, rapture swelling within her. Here lay the power of their collective belief, but then, as if a cloud shrouded the light, doubt crept into the hearts of some. What if this all ends in disappointment? One voice quavered. Sarah felt that moment shift in the air. Anxious murmurs stirred among the villagers, mindsets teetering on the edge. But as quickly as the cloud came, Sarah felt an overwhelming urge to counter it with truth. Listen, she said, her voice firm yet gentle. Every great miracle began with a leap of faith, often wrapped in trials. Let us not surrender to fear, instead, let us elevate our faith. After all, He is a God of the impossible. Her words, like soft rain on parched ground, soaked into their souls, rejuvenating their resolve. And in that sacred space, as the night deepened around them, tension began to dissolve into quiet trust. A palpable energy danced, as if heaven itself was shifting, ready to align with their fervent request. But would their persistent prayers pierce the heavens this time? Could they truly transform a moment of despair into a miracle, in the face of what felt like destined disappointment? The air was thick with anticipation, each heartbeat a prayer, each breath a sigh sent heavenward. In that mystery, Sarah's heart resonated with the truth she still held dear: with God, all things are possible. But would she soon witness that possibility unfold? The village was on the brink of something greater, yet, a profound question lingered: could their faith withstand the trials that lay ahead? The night air wrapped around Everwood, cool and serene. Inside St. Mary's, an undeniable energy pulsed as families nestled deeper into their pews. Sarah's heart raced, anticipation threading through her thoughts like a golden string. Could this gathering ignite something powerful, something that would ripple not just through their small community but touch the very fabric of eternity? As she looked around, she saw faces she had known forever, yet they seemed transformed. Hope, like an ember, flickered in the eyes of the weary. Old Mr. Thompson, who had recently lost his dear wife, bowed his head low but kept his hands clasped tightly. Young Julia, with her wild curls, glanced up at her mother, unsure yet curious. Each person was there not just for themselves but for each other, an intertwined web of shared faith and collective sorrow. The gathering began anew in fervent prayer, voices rising together in harmony. Lord, hear our cries. They beckoned heaven, begging for intervention. Tension rode the air, thick and heavy, and Sarah felt it both a burden and a blessing, a crucial moment teetering on the edge of hope and despair. Then, softly at first, but gradually gaining strength, the music of worship poured from the choir. Spiritual melodies floated upwards, lifting every heavy heart in the room. Tears flowed freely. Laughter bubbled up amid the grief, forming a beautiful duality: joy intertwined with longing. As the songs cascaded, Sarah found herself swept into a current of faith and obedience. They were not merely singing, they were declaring, proclaiming their dependence on God. Let your will be done, Lord. Not my will, but yours, she whispered, reflecting the sentiments echoed around her. As each member poured forth their pleas, it became a beautiful tapestry, woven with threads of intention and desire. As the service progressed, an older woman named Mrs. Hargrove stood up. Tremors danced in her hands, but determination shone in her eyes. Sarah, she began, her voice quaking but resolute, there was a time I was lost in darkness, and the Lord lifted me up. I hold on to that truth tonight. His light can heal. A murmur of amen arose, filling the sanctuary. Hearts ignited. In that moment, Sarah realized their collective journey had transformed from one of mere individual prayers to a united declaration of God's faithfulness, but as the sessions of prayer intensified, a weight lingered: would God honor their faith? And what if the answer was not what they expected? These questions hung in the air, unacknowledged but palpable. Yet, life had never shied away from moments filled with uncertainty. It was in those shadows that light often broke forth. Tonight is our night, Sarah declared, her words ringing out with unexpected strength. We will not leave here unchanged. The congregation responded with raucous applause. Encouraged, she continued, imagine what could be. Healing, restoration, even redemption awaits us. Let us believe for it, friends. And somewhere deep inside, the stirring of something divine began. Hearts stirred, eyes lifted, and spirits awakened to the possibilities that lay just beyond their grasp. That evening, every soul held a flicker of hope that perhaps they were on the brink of a miracle, but with the rising anticipation came deeper questions that brushed against Sarah's spirit. What if they opened themselves to faith, only to be met with silence? Could they withstand the reality that sometimes the answers were shrouded in divine mystery? In that charged atmosphere, as minutes turned into hours, they remained steadfast. Sarah sensed something shifting, an unseen force preparing to unveil within the shroud of darkness. Were they about to witness a breakthrough? A miracle waiting to manifest? Everyone leaned in, waiting. The air thickened with expectancy. In those final moments, Sarah's heart thudded with sacred anticipation. What awaited them just beyond the veil of prayer? Would the night hold the answers to their soul's deepest cries? The floor trembled beneath the weight of their longing, and she knew something was about to happen. The hush in St. Mary's deepened, even the whispers of hope seemed to hold their breath. As Sarah's heart raced, she felt the collective heartbeat of the congregation synchronizing with her own, a tribe united in longing, desperation, and a touch of divine reckoning. Suddenly, a swell of energy surged through the room. It was as if the air around them pulsed with electric possibility. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, her hands lifted into the air with palms wide, yearning for an outpouring. Lord, we believe. She breathed, letting the words settle over her. A rich wave of warmth enveloped her. She felt as if cool light cascaded down from above, washing away doubts as swiftly as waves kiss the shoreline. With each note sung by the choir, each prayer uttered, the congregation drew closer together, like moths drawn to a flame. The grief seemed to melt away, transmuted into something sacred and beautiful. Amid the melodies, tears continued to stream down faces, not just from sorrow, but from an awakening sense of realization, the kind that whispered, "You are seen. You are not alone." There were hushed exchanges shared between familiar faces. Glances filled with compassion spoke volumes, communicating unspoken prayers of comfort and understanding. As Mrs. Hargrove took her seat, a young man rose from a pew, his frame tall and sturdy. With his voice becoming part of the symphony of sound, he proclaimed, "I remember moments when hope seemed lost. I was drowning in despair until I reached out for his hand. If he could pull me from the depths, he can do the same for each of you." An uproar of amens echoed, reverberating through the sacred space, filling every corner with enthusiasm. This was not just a gathering, it felt as though they were part of something celestial, a meeting point between heaven and earth. It struck Sarah suddenly, a divine purpose nestled within the unexpected turns of their lives. What if the silence we dread holds the seeds of transformation? She mused silently, her heart fluttering with both apprehension and joy at the thought of possibility. Just then, the church doors swung open, allowing a rush of crisp night air to fill the room. Sarah opened her eyes, her gaze drawn to the entrance. A figure stepped in, their silhouette illuminated by the flickering candlelight. It was James, a boy who had left their community in search of purpose and belonging, now returning to them dressed in rugged clothes but with eyes full of light. The room fell silent, hearts poised on the edge of hope. "Friends, I've journeyed far and wide," James began, his voice steady and imbued with energy. "The Lord has shown me wonders. I witnessed miracles. He can do immeasurably more than we can ask or conceive. The fervor in his words and the glimmer in his eyes sparked something profound within Sarah. The energy in the air tightened around her like a cocoon, revealing something deep and transformative. As eyes turned toward James, Sarah felt a gentle nudge within her spirit. "Speak your truth, let him fill your heart," came the soft whisper, urging her forward to share her own deep admiration for the divine work happening around them. Taking a step forward, every gaze met hers, waiting. She knew this was the moment to kindle the flame of faith even brighter. With every fiber of her being, Sarah raised her hands again, her voice ringing through the air. "Let us proclaim God's greatness together. Let us lift each other up tonight." But just as she began, the lights flickered momentarily, a gentle reminder of the heavenly realm dancing on the brink of their reality. Would they be ready to seize the miracle that teetered just beyond their understanding? With the discordant pulse of urgency filling the air, Sarah caught the glimmer of divine promises awaiting their faith. What were they being called to believe next? What awaited them in this sacred moment? As hearts surged, a new divine whisper echoed through the congregation: "What if your greatest miracle is still yet to come?" The air buzzed with anticipation, each heart tuned to a frequency of wonder and expectation. As Sarah stood there, arms raised, her voice echoing like a clarion call, a sense of urgency swept over her. She could feel the gaze of the entire congregation pulling her forward, entwining her spirit with theirs in a tapestry of hope. "Tonight, we stand on holy ground. In His presence, we are touched by His grace. The Lord is here among us, are you ready to receive?" she implored, the fervor in her tone rising with each word, igniting a spark in their collective spirit. A soft murmur of agreement washed over the pews, a wave of unity rising higher. It stirred something deep within the congregation, an awakening. They were hungry for the miraculous, for the tangible presence of the divine that seemed to loom just out of reach, yet so close they could feel it against their skin. The candles flickered in rhythm with their anticipation, shadows dancing on the walls like echoes of prayers ascending. James, still brimming with energy, began to recount the stories of his travels, each testimony a brushstroke painting a vivid illustration of hope. "I saw the blind receive their sight. I witnessed hearts healed, chains broken." His voice soared, harmonizing with the growing conviction swirling through the room. As he spoke, Sarah felt that familiar warmth wash over her again, a divine embrace enveloping her. She could see the hope transforming despair in the eyes of those around her. People who had come heavy-laden were now lifting their heads, daring to dream again. It was as if the walls of St. Mary's had become a portal, channeling the heavenly light into every soul present. Among the congregation, whispers grew into shared affirmations, a gentle swell reminding them of their shared faith. "Yes, we believe," a woman called out, her voice rising above the others. "Bring your miracles, Lord," shouted another, passion igniting the space around them. But amid the clamor, a voice broke through softly, a young girl in the front row. "What if we don't know how to ask for it? What if we're too broken to receive?" Her question hung heavy in the air, a fragile thread of vulnerability. Silence fell at her words, and Sarah felt her heart resonate with the little girl's hesitation. Wasn't he that the essence of faith? A recognition of brokenness paired with a daring to hope, Sarah stepped forward, her heart aching for those who felt lost. "We've all been there. I promise, no call for healing is too small or too broken for our Lord. It's in our need that He finds the opportunity to show His greatness. All we need is to reach out just as we are." The atmosphere shifted, as if the very essence of hope crystallized in that moment, shimmering like stars against the dark sky. The congregation leaned into each other, hands reaching out, some clasping others tightly, while others extended palms open, ready to receive. Then, as the first chords of a deep, soulful hymn began to fill the space, a ripple of faith surged through the room, igniting hearts anew. It felt like a wave, not just of sound, but of promise and potential, washing over each person. "Let us step into the miracle," Sarah cried out above the hymn, her voice a steady anchor amid the reverberations. "Together, let us declare our burden and let Him transform us." And as they sang, a strange yet comforting calm settled, intertwining with a yearning fervor. Sarah watched as tears flowed freely now, laughter and cries of jubilation mingling among the notes, each note a step closer to divine intervention. What awaited them in this electrifying moment? Could their hearts really harbor the extraordinary? The flickering candlelight began to glow brighter, casting a golden glow, hinting at the miraculous change soon to unfold. Could they trust that their awaited answers were just a breath away, an invitation to meet the impossible head-on? As the last notes of the hymn faded into a hush, an enveloping stillness settled over the congregation. It was a silence heavy with expectancy, a sacred pause as if the very heavens were holding their breath alongside them. Eyes closed and heads bowed, they lingered in the moment, collectively aware of something monumental unfurling within and around them. Sarah stood in the middle of this charged atmosphere, a gentle smile gracing her face. She could feel the vibrations of faith weaving through her, invigorating her spirit. "Lord, we stand ready," she whispered, almost instinctively. In that moment, she opened her eyes to see the faces before her, some lit with hope, others battling doubts. Each heart was a canvas, awaiting the touch of the master artist. Suddenly, amidst the stillness, a soft, gentle glow began to emerge from the altar, warming the space like that of a dawning sun. People turned, eyes widening as they leaned forward, caught in a moment of awe. "What is that light?" A man whispered, his voice barely above a breath, reverence lacing every syllable. "It's him. He is here." Sarah's voice rang out, steady and unwavering. Her pulse quickened under the weight of a glorious realization. It was a moment she had yearned for, a divine affirmation. This wasn't just a gathering, it was a sacred encounter. The flicker of candlelight danced eagerly in tune with the emanating glow. Sarah could see it beginning to illuminate the faces around her, a cascade of warmth washing over the room. The spirit of expectancy morphed into something tangible, transforming doubts into fervent belief. "Let your hearts open. He is pouring his goodness into us," she urged, as she stepped closer to the altar. As if in response to her words, the light shimmered brighter, and with it, a stirring swelled up from within the congregation. Hands were raised, eyes lifted, and hearts bared. "We are here, Lord. We want to receive," cried an elderly man, his voice cracking from years of unspoken yearnings. Then, as if orchestrated by an unseen hand, a soft but unmistakable whisper carried through the air. "You are not too broken. You are not unworthy." It was a gentle reminder, yet it resonated deeply, chipping away at walls hardened by time and hurt. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes. It was beautiful, this outpouring of sacred assurance. "Let those words wash over you," Sarah cried, embracing the rhythm of worship that pulsed throughout the space. It felt like a river flowing over stones, smoothing away the jagged edges of terror and despair. "Embrace his love. Lay your burdens down, and let him lift you." With every heartfelt shout, the congregation released their hesitations into the atmosphere. Healing began to intertwine with belief. Faces transformed, some lit with joy, others shadowed with tears, yet all reflecting a sacred struggle met by divine grace. The girl's question echoed in Sarah's mind, but now it seemed different. It was no longer a worry but rather an invitation to surrender fully. A sudden rumble echoed as the church doors creaked open, a gust of wind rushing in, intertwining itself with their prayers. People gasped, looking toward the threshold. Was it simply wind or a breath of the Spirit? "Believe," Sarah called again, her voice ringing with urgency as the air thickened, infused with promises of the miraculous. Through the rising tide of faith, each person held the hope of a new dawn, each heartbeat echoing the fervent truth that they were indeed worthy of miracles. But just then, a strange shadow moved at the periphery of their vision, drawing attention away from the center. What was it? An answer? A challenge? The moment crackled with possibilities, and as their hearts raced with anticipation, they were left wondering what would unfold next in this divine story. The shadow grew clearer, undulating softly across the floor, revealing a figure dressed in shimmering white. The congregation held its collective breath, awe and trepidation mingling in the air. What was this presence that had slipped through the threshold of their gathering the very moment they believed their hearts would ignite? "Fear not," the figure spoke, a voice like kindling wood crackling in a quiet fire. It resonated with authority yet felt like a warm embrace, wrapping around each listener in the pews. "I come bearing a message of hope and healing. Lift your eyes. It is time to embrace your destiny." As the words fell into the hearts of the congregation, Sarah felt an unexplainable warmth flow through her, igniting a renewed fervor. "We are ready," she exclaimed, raising her arms high as if sending a signal to the heavens. The hum of agreement swept through the congregation, echoing voices rising like an anthem. "Ready for your healing, Lord." With the figure standing at the altar, a palpable shift washed over the room. The air throbbed with sacred energy as light blazed brighter, illuminating every corner and every soul. The strange mixture of joy and expectancy wrapped tightly around them. "Now is the hour," the figure announced, eyes sparkling like radiant stars. "Miracles await those who believe." One by one, the hearts that had once faltered began to beat with courage. A woman at the back wept openly, her hands pressed tightly to her heart. "I have carried this burden for so long," her voice cracked, yet her spirit soared as tears flowed freely. "Lay it down," urged Sarah, feeling the wave of encouragement crash over her and her friends. "His love will fill the empty places." A man holding an old guitar stepped forward, strumming softly, the tunes rising to meet the holy presence that hovered just above the altar. The melodies intertwined with the light, fostering a collective release that wrapped every person in the room. "You're not alone. You are loved," he proclaimed, notes poured like oil into the hearts that yearned for healing. As the music lifted, the shadowy figure nodded knowingly. "Feel the blessings that are pouring down now," it encouraged. "Let faith shake off fear and open the floodgates of joy." In that very moment, as if on cue, a burst of light enveloped the lingering doubts. Some swayed gently as the connection between heaven and earth grew nearer, while others cried out for liberation from the chains that had held them bound. Faith felt tangible like a warm blanket drawn closely on a cold winter night. The sweetness of divine love cloaked each soul. Sarah looked around, her heart soaring with praises. People were embracing one another, tears mingling with laughter, pain transforming into purpose. They were awakening into something more profound, something divine. But the shadows stirred again. "Your journey is only beginning," it said, radiating a promise. "Within you is the power to shine and affirm greatness. What will you do with this love that has been gifted to you?" A hush fell in anticipation, a moment dense with possibility. Each heart grappled gently with a question that demanded sincerity and courage. Sarah felt it too, the weight of choices before them. Would they embrace the transformation? Would they share the miracles received? As the light swelled, illuminating faces bright with hope, one question lingered in the atmosphere, dripping with divine intention. What would they decide? As silence filled the room, anticipation hung thick in the air. The flickering candle flames danced rhythmically as if echoing the unspoken prayers from countless hearts longing for change. The figure moved gracefully, surveying the sea of eager faces. Each expression was a testament to faith, desperate hope, unyielding trust, and a hint of trepidation. "Look around you," the figure said, gesturing gently. "See the faces of those beside you. Each one carries a story, a journey of pain, struggle, and now, the promise of healing." Sarah glanced at the people near her. There was an elderly man whose hands trembled gently, a woman cradling a small child, and a group of young adults exchanging cautious smiles. For a fleeting second, their eyes met, and she felt an indescribable connection, a shared understanding that transcended words. "Let us unite," urged the figure, their voice rising like a powerful wave crashing against the shore. "Go further with me, into the depths of your hearts. Release the burdens that hold you captive. Allow yourself to transform." Sarah felt the sea of energy ripple through her as if woven from each emotion present. Hope pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She stood taller, encouraged by the sight of hands rising in surrender and faces glowing with expectancy. "Now," the figure declared, spreading arms wide. "Lift all that weighs you down. Speak your truth aloud and let it be known. For in this sacred moment, vulnerability leads to transformation." Voices began to rise, tentative at first, a whisper shared between a few. "I surrender my fear," came a voice. "I release my loneliness," said another. The confessions flowed, rich and raw, pouring like cleansing rain over parched ground. With each declaration, the figure absorbed the words, nodding approvingly. "Yes. Claim this moment. Claim your healing." Suddenly, a rush of warmth enveloped Sarah. It was a vibrant energy, swirling like molten gold around her. She closed her eyes, allowing the sensation to wash over her. "I accept love. I accept healing." She whispered fervently, letting her voice mingle with those around her. As tears flowed freely, something miraculous began to happen. Cries of joy erupted, and laughter intertwined with the sounds of release. People fell to their knees, their hearts unburdened, some enveloped in the embrace of others. Witness the change. The figure called, almost dancing in the radiant glow as the atmosphere thickened with divine presence. God's hand is moving. Miracles are manifesting. Your surrender is the key. In that sacred moment, Sarah felt her spirit lifted high, as though she were weightless and free. Memories of pain began to fade, and she could sense the heaviness receding from the depths of her soul. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Then the figure's voice became tender, full of grace. Understand this, real transformation often demands courage. Are you willing to carry the healing forward? Will you act upon it? Voices that had moments ago found release now paused in contemplation. The air stilled as the questions sank deep into their hearts. Would they embrace the power they had just encountered? Would they share their experience beyond these walls? As Sarah stood there, her heart racing with possibility, she realized that this moment, this decision, would echo far beyond the sanctuary. And among the glowing faces surrounding her, one thought surged, resonating like a drumbeat echoing into eternity. What would their next steps be in this divine journey of healing? With flickers of light still radiating from their hearts, a question hung once more: how would they embrace the call ahead? The silence stretched as the question lingered in the air, vibrating with unspoken potential. Sarah could feel it deep within her, an electric charge ready to spark something powerful. Around her, others were lost in thought, grappling with the weight of the figure's words. Would they step forward? Would they carry this moment into the world waiting outside? For a brief moment, she closed her eyes again, channeling the warmth that had enveloped her. There in that sacred stillness, she could almost hear the whispers of encouragement from a place beyond understanding. Step boldly, it beckoned. Embrace the light that has ignited within you. Opening her eyes, Sarah surveyed the room once more. The elderly man still fidgeted with his trembling hands, but something in his expression had shifted. The light illuminating his face now reflected hope rather than despair. The woman with the child held her little one tightly, but joy began to soften her furrowed brow. Each face was a canvas of transformation, painted by the strokes of heartfelt surrender. Will you ignite change? The figure asked again. Their voice resonated like a bell through the gathering, calling each soul to action. Do not let this moment slip through your fingers. Share your journey. Share your healing. The world yearns for your story. Encouraged by the figure's passion, Sarah took a deep breath, yearning to take a step. Would her voice carry the weight of truth? Could her words inspire others to dare the leap into their own healing journeys? As if reading her thoughts, the figure nodded knowingly. Remember, my friends, your voices hold power. Speak of your healing, and you light the path for another to follow. It was then that a spark ignited not just in Sarah, but in others as well. The young woman at the back, her eyes shining with unshed tears, stood with newfound confidence. I was lost in my darkness, she confessed. But today, I reclaim my joy. A soft murmur of encouragement rippled through the crowd. The elderly man stood next, his voice breaking with emotion. I release all doubt. I embrace the faith that has evaded me for years. His words hung in the air, heavy with sincerity, yet uplifting for everyone present. As one after another shared their declarations, the room transformed into a symphony of healing. It was beautiful chaos, tears intertwining with laughter, pain blending into purpose. Sarah felt her spirit rise even higher with each shared truth, united in love and hope. Then came a calm that fell over them, a sacred hush wrapping around the congregation as the figure raised their hands once more. You must understand this journey holds challenges, yet your hearts are now bound for greatness. Will you step into the world with this light? Will you be agents of change? The question hung like a promise. The dawn of new beginnings danced just beyond the veil of the present. The air crackled with energy, as if God's very presence invited them forward. As Sarah looked around, she felt the question burn brightly within her. Would they have the courage to step out? To bring the gifts of their transformation into their communities? The anticipation hung in the air, a looming question of destiny. What treasures awaited them beyond the shadows they once knew? The figure stepped closer, their eyes sparkling with faith. Let this be your reckoning. From this moment, everything begins. Are you ready to embrace the journey? Thus, the stage was set for their next step. Uncertainty intermingled with hope. The crowd pulsed with shared breath, ready to face what lay ahead. Endless possibilities shimmered in the distance, each heartbeat echoing the divine invitation to step forward into the unknown. And as Sarah lifted her head, a question lingered in the depths of her heart: were they truly prepared for the divine adventure waiting just beyond their comfort? The morning sun arose gently over Everwood, casting a golden hue on flowers swaying in the soft breeze. Inside St. Mary's Church, the echoes of last night's fervent prayers lingered like a warm embrace, filling the hearts of the villagers with hope. Sarah stood at the altar, her heart full and grateful. The miracles they had prayed for felt tangible now, woven through the very fabric of the community. Faces she loved, faces she had seen weighed down by burdens, now sparkled with hope. As she gazed around, the recollection of shared confessions came rushing back, every voice lifting as one, revealing the beauty of their vulnerability. Joy intertwined with pain, as old wounds were tenderly lifted before the Lord. And then she felt it, the soft stirrings of divine purpose. What awaits us now, Lord? She pondered, her spirit aflame with anticipation. The figure who had graced them with a message of hope was still etched in her memory, its words resonating through her veins. A collective healing had taken place. Soon, they would carry the love into the world beyond these walls. As villagers filtered into church for morning light, there was an electric energy palpable in the air. Mr. Thompson approached Sarah first, his hand steady as he shook hers. My dear, I've regained hope. I can feel the warmth of the Lord within me. He glowed with faith, his heart anchored anew. Yes. Claim that joy. Sarah cheered, her heart swelling. One by one, people poured in, sharing their own stories of transformation. The child who was once timid now played in the aisles, laughter ringing like holy bells. Mothers, once fraught with worry, exchanged tender smiles, filled with the peace that comes only from divine intervention. But then a realization struck Sarah deeper than any moment before. This community was not just preparing to carry healing, they were being called to be vessels. Listen! Sarah called out, gathering everyone's attention. Their faces turned towards her, and even in the sunlight pouring through the windows, she could see hearts receptive. We were blessed beyond measure, healed and reminded of God's promises. Now, it's our sacred duty to share these miracles, to bring light to the corners of this world. Will you join me? She urged, breathless with fervor. A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. Young and old, they nodded, their spirits awakened to the challenge ahead. Let us reach out beyond Everwood. Let us tell of his wonders. Exclaimed Julia, her voice bright and fervent. Aye, let us mend the broken hearts. Mr. Thompson joined in, his ambition strengthened. Inspired by those words, Sarah felt her voice rise again. Together, we are stronger. Let us organize meetings, let us reach out to those needing hope. Let us be a beacon, she proclaimed, her enthusiasm a spark igniting their collective will. The crowd erupted with excitement. Each prayer led to transformative action. They began to sketch plans for a healing outreach, to provide aid and share testimonies to those in need, turning compassion outward like a blooming garden. Yet deep inside, questions lingered: what challenges would come? Would they falter? But within that space of uncertainty, Sarah felt it again, the gentle caress of divine assurance. Days became weeks, and Everwood thrived not only on faith but also in action. They met every week at St. Mary's, gathering stories, sharing moments of joy and trials alike. Each soul, once tethered by silent burdens, became a part of a living testimony, a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of love. And Oliver, once captured by illness, now raced through the fields with laughter, embodying the miraculous healing they all sought. Every sight of his joy echoed God's promises fulfilled. In the heart of their village, as time unfurled, the transformation rooted itself deeper than any of them could have imagined. With God at their center, miracles continued to blossom. They embraced those outside their gates, bringing hope to the weary souls they encountered. And so it was. Every step they took, every heart they touched became a testament. to what faith could do when ignited, shared, and celebrated. As each day dawned anew, Sarah led not just with her voice but with her heart, a beacon glimmering in the light of God's abundant grace. Finally, the village of Everwood stood united. They had embraced their divine calling, and the echoes of their stories reverberated into eternity. For in the God who healed, they found purpose, love, and an unquenchable spirit that would carry them forth. The adventure into the world awaited, and in their hearts, each villager held the truth: miracles were never just for themselves but for a world longing to know love. Now, brothers and sisters, it is time for you to act. You need to subscribe now, so you won't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this incredible message further. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Let us continue spreading the message that God's love is transformative, together.